So I'd like to thank everyone for coming out tonight. I'm Bruce Shepis. I'm the chairman of the board of the Township Trustees here in Austintown. And on behalf of myself and the other trustees, Monica's on vacation. Trustee Santos is in the audience. He can't be up here, but he is up there participating as a concerned citizen as well. And I'm sure he'll be available for questions. If you want to walk up to him one-on-one, he'll be more than happy to speak to you guys as well. And so will I, and so will Chief Delmont. Or any of our officers that are up here afterwards. I actually encourage you to talk to Sergeant Yeoman, who will be doing a presentation, and then you guys, I'm sure most of you know, Chief Valerie Delmont is right here to my right. We do have our dispatch supervisor here as well, if needed. I don't know if you want to stand up and say hello to everybody. Anyway, so on behalf of all of us, thank you for coming out. I appreciate this kind of stuff. I like transparency along with the rest of the board. You know, I just did an interview prior to this, and one of the things they asked me was like, what's going on tonight and why are we doing this? Well, number one is transparency. Number two, personally, me, I'm on social media. I don't like fake news. I don't like keyboard warriors that much. So if you want the facts, come see us. Come to these meetings. Come to these forums. Call me. I know there's some buzz lately about roads. Call me. If I see my name up there, I'll come to your house. I'll call you, see if I can come over, and I'll have coffee with you. There's people in this audience right now that I've had coffee with to discuss this police levy and the last police levy. That's the type of board that we are. So if you wouldn't mind, at the end, in an orderly fashion, just raise your hand. You'll have more than enough opportunity to ask questions. Sergeant Yeoman will be answering most of them. If you need me to answer something, I will. Chief Delmont will as well. So, Chief?
Good evening. My name is Valerie Delmont. I am the chief for the Austintown Police Department. Thank you all for being here and taking the time to listen and be a part of our town hall. I would like to talk about the levy that will be on the ballot in November. Before I start that, I would like to acknowledge the hard work and the dedication of our police officers and our dispatchers. Day in and day out, they put themselves on the line to ensure that our community is safe and protected. They respond to emergencies, they investigate crimes, they answer 911, and they engage with our residents every day. As your police chief, I'm incredibly proud of the work that they do, but I also recognize the challenges that they are facing. Our public servants, the men and women who have chosen to serve you and to keep you safe and to protect your life and your property, are being hindered. Right now, our police department is stretched thin. Over the past few years, we have experienced an increase in calls for service, which has put pressure on our officers. Our team is committed, but we're also facing significant challenges. The three most important ones that this levy would help with are staffing, aging equipment, and the need for updated training and technology. For staffing, right now our total number of sworn police officers, including myself, is 33. We have 33 sworn officers. In 2023, 2 years ago, we had 43. That's 10 additional officers that we had 2 years ago. We have been on a hiring freeze, and we have not hired since February of 2023, 2 years ago. Since then, we have lost 10 officers. 6 of those officers we lost just this year. We have not replaced any of them. This has obviously created a shortage in our police department. Our priority is covering patrol shifts on the streets, officers handling the calls and the emergencies. We have pulled 2 detectives and 1 task force officer from their assignments and reassigned them to the patrol division to help us cover our shifts. We then had to pull 1 officer from a task force assignment to cover the shortage that was made in the detective division when those officers were moved to the road. We have paused our participation in the crisis response team to eliminate the cost associated with the training, the call-outs, and the equipment of those team members. Our K-9 program is only operational because it is being funded by donations from our community. We have not filled a dispatch supervisor position since it was left vacant in July. We have not filled 2 lieutenants' positions since they were vacated in March and June. We have cut overtime in police and dispatch, limited time off, and made numerous changes in scheduling to reduce overtime and the costs associated with it. The staffing shortage impacts not only our response times, but the overall effectiveness of our team. As far as aging equipment, our biggest expense after personnel is equipment. Our station and our cruisers are the biggest items in this category. Our officers and our dispatchers require both to be able to do their jobs. We have reduced or eliminated many maintenance contracts and some services at our facility. We are managing to do without or to do ourselves what we used to pay to be done. We have purchased no new cruisers. We have revamped the vehicle maintenance program that has allowed us to reduce the cost of servicing our cruisers that are driven sometimes 16 or 24 hours a day. Equipment has to be properly maintained and replaced to allow us to do our job safely and effectively. Training and equipment. We have eliminated all of our outside training. We have sent no employees to specialized or advanced training in the last year. We have completed only mandatory training, and that's in service at our department and in a reduced capacity. Continuous training is essential for our officers and our dispatchers to stay updated on the best practices in law enforcement. It enhances officer safety and in community engagement and helps them do their job. We have not renewed any subscriptions or signed any contracts for any extra technology programs that we previously used or that we had planned to start using. This includes Cellbrite, a system used to extract information from cell phones, and flock cameras that are placed around the township to help catch criminals leaving or arriving at scenes. We're utilizing every grant that we can to offset the cost and to try to re-implement these services because they are a necessary resource in today's police work. These challenges, staffing, aging equipment, limited training, and technology hinder our ability to serve you effectively and safely. This is why we're asking for your support on this levy. Passing this levy is an investment in our community's safety and well-being. Passing this levy will allow us to have effective staffing levels, updated equipment, necessary training, and the technology that we need to keep your families safe. Dave Yeoman, a sergeant on our department and the president of our FOP, our Fraternal Order of Police, is also running our levy committee. He's the chairperson of that, and he is going to go into a lot more depth on some of the things that I touched on and some other things about the levy. So, Dave.
One second, Dave. I would be remorse if I didn't recognize Amy Ciccone. I know she's out there in the audience. Thank you so much for all that you do for all of us, not just here in the township, but township-wide with your civil organizations that you belong to. She was so kind to pick up those White House donuts over there, the coffee from Dunkin', and some refreshments for all of you. So please enjoy. Thank you, Amy. Or Jamie. You're welcome. Who are you? I know why I said it.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm David Yeoman. I'm a sergeant with the police department. I've been here for about 12 years. I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what Chief Delmont talked about a little bit more in detail. Create a PowerPoint slide for you, so it'll be nice and fancy. And we'll kind of go over each slide individually, and I will go a little bit more in depth. And at the end, we'll have the opportunity for you to, if you have any questions, feel free to ask, and we'll make sure one of your questions gets answered. So, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody who's here tonight for taking the time out to come and learn about your police department and to basically be here and show support for us. And if you watch this on YouTube, that would be great too, so we hope to share that link. But before we dive into the numbers, you basically have two options here tonight. One, invest in your community, invest in your police department. Two, the other option is to go down the route we're going, which is just sustaining. And as you heard Chief Delmont say, we've made a lot of cuts, we've reduced a lot of staff. And without new funding, our department's going to go in a negative direction. We're not trying to get to that point, and we're doing everything we possibly can. So I'll explain a little bit more about what we've done. But a little bit about our department. Under the leadership of Chief Valerie Dumont, we have a police force of just 33 police officers. We cover 25 square miles. We respond to over 20,000 calls for service, and we protect over 36,000 residents, homes, schools, and businesses. That doesn't include our daytime population that swells daily with people driving through or going home from work, or people that work here. 2 years ago, that number said 43. A year ago from today, that number was 39. In 1 year, it went from 39 to 33. So in total, that's a reduction of services of 23%. A little bit about Austintown Township. We're the 12th largest township in the state of Ohio. There's 1,308 townships. We are the 12th largest in population. In comparison, if we were a city, we'd be in the top 15% of 253 cities in the state of Ohio. If we became a city today, we'd be in the top 15% of cities. But we're often running services on a township budget. And large townships like Austintown and Boardman, we often deliver urban-level services on our township budget. I want to talk a little bit about some of the things you don't see in police work. So the daily demand, what you don't see. The 20,000 plus calls for service we handle 24/7, 365. It's around 55 calls a day. We have 33 officers currently doing that, down from 43. That's 5 officers in patrol cars every day, making sure you're safe in this township. The invisible hours, we just don't show up to calls. We just don't show up and a couple minutes later they're gone. Maybe an arrest, maybe a report, maybe evidence collection, maybe a detective calling you and following up. There's a lot of work, a lot of preparation we have to do, whereas if we make an arrest, it's not just something quick. An officer may be off the road for an hour or 2 or longer, depending on what situation we're dealing with. Preventative presence, what I mean by that is a proactive police department. We do not want to be a reactive police department. With our staffing levels, we have to prioritize calls. We want to be there in your neighborhoods, we want to be in the plaza, we want to be at the truck stop, we want to be in the schools, we want to be everywhere. But with the reduced staffing that we're facing, it's a crunch for us. And some of the complex incidents that we face that you don't see. Mental health calls. They're very complex, they take time. We usually have to have a plan in place. We have to get somebody to safety. We have to get other people involved. It's a lot of work. Domestics, it can be a verbal argument to a full-blown fight, and you don't know what you're walking up to when you go to that house or that apartment. Suicidal persons. We get calls all the time for welfare checks. Somebody's not thinking right. Somebody needs some help. We want to get them to a higher level of care. That's not a call that you just go there and you fix in 20 minutes. That person's been suffering for a while. We have to try to fix and mitigate and make sure they're safe so we can get them to where they need to go. Disturbances, large disturbances, fights, bar crowds, anything. It could be multiple people. We had a shooting in College Park the other day. It's a lot. Juvenile problems. We have a lot of kids in this township, and we want to make sure our children are safe. It could be anything. It could be fights, it could be thefts, it could be anything. I also want to talk about dispatch tonight, because this police levy doesn't, you're not voting just for the police. You're voting for dispatch. We've always had dispatch services in Austintown. And as we're the first responders, they're the first responders. They're the first voice that you hear when you need the police. When you need somebody organizing a bad situation, if it's a medical emergency that can give you direction on how to give CPR, stopping bleeding, anything. And they're often working with the fire department, they're working with the ambulances. There's a lot of work that our dispatchers do, and without them we couldn't get our jobs, we couldn't accomplish anything, and not in a timely manner, let alone. We have a good department, but we're facing some things that are out of our control. National trends, it's going to be further in some other slides, but they're creating challenges for us in law enforcement here in Austintown and across the country. 700 calls a year we respond to with dealing with a person with a mental health issue or a person dealing with a mental health crisis. lot of people don't know who to call in these situations. They call the police. Somebody's coming to your aid. Some of these calls are welfare checks, suicidal persons, or emergency admissions, somebody that we have to send to the hospital to get higher level of care. And those are additional, that trend is rising. Mental health, remember that. One thing about Austintown and Mahoney County is that we do have an aging population. In Austintown alone, 1/3 of our residents are 60 plus. They're more at risk for computer and phone fraud, robbery, and accidents. We get a lot of the aging population coming in our station and they're frauded out of a lot of money, or somebody took advantage of that. We have to protect everybody, and that's just a new trend that we're facing on top of the day-to-day crime. Other things we do as a police department, we have to watch out for you guys. Thousands of daily visitors. People going to the casino, the truck stops, your schools. You want to eat out here, shopping. You ever done Mahoney Avenue 46 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon? You see how packed it is. It's just a lot going on. Again, we're a bare minimum, 5 policemen. Bad schedules. There's a lot of things, but we're trying to be proactive. We really are. These are the things that we're facing. Illegal drug activity. Drugs haven't gone away. We do investigations. We still make arrests, and we respond to a lot of overdoses. We have to give people Narcan. Multiple times, depends. Our police department's done a pretty good job at containing illegal drug activities, but the number of investigations and arrests and overdoses are on the rise, just like it is trending all over the U.S. Another thing, the boogeyman in the room. Our kids are always on tablets, they're on phones. The increasing use of internet and social media, crimes against our children, the most innocent. We try to track down predators. It takes a lot of time and investigations. We have an officer assigned to the Human Trafficking Task Force, and it takes they're very complex, they take a lot of time. And these people that are on the other side of the screen, they're not out walking the public. They're hiding behind apps. They're hiding under fake names. And we have to try to track these people down because they're trying to lure our children. They're passing, the stories are endless, and I don't want to get into it. But there is a purpose to have somebody on our department with the ability and the know-how. When somebody walks in our department and says, my child had this situation, we have a person that you can go to. We're here to help. In general with crime, the cost of prosecuting criminals skyrocketed. The burden of proof on us with our body cameras, the evidence collection, with the training that we're not sending officers to, there's a lot of different costs that come into just taking the general report and having it go through the process. Computer crime scene analysis, the equipment Chief Delmont talked about, the Celebrate machine, pulling data from a phone, laboratory processing of evidence, making sure officers are trained to collect evidence properly, record retention software. Every time an officer deals with 20,000 calls a year, they're turning on their body camera. That has to be stored somewhere. That has to be ready to go for a defense attorney or the prosecutor. We have to have systems in place. We didn't ask for it. The state's making us do this. Forensic analysis. Another thing, our police cars. Inflation. We're all feeling the effects of it. In 2021, a Ford Explorer was $45,000 approximately. In 3 years, it's gone up to about $60,000. It doesn't include most of the equipment, the technology, the decals, and these cars are ran 24/7. They're being utilized all the time. And there's no better visible deterrent to crime than a marked police car driving up and down your street, your main roads, in your shopping areas, and everywhere in between. There's no bigger deterrent to that. And we haven't bought cars in a few years. And we do not want it to get to a point where maintenance costs exceed the cost of us. We could have just bought a cruiser. A little bit about our staffing levels. Chief Delmont said, we're at 33. 10 officers left. 1 officer might be retiring next year. That 23% reduction. So that's a lot, but you're still getting the same service you are now. We're doing our best. But we're coming here today to explain that it is not a sustainable model. We have to be realistic here. It's not enough for a community of our size and our demand. But we're always going to work hard, and we are stretched in every direction. So every time an officer leaves, we're down to that 33 number. What does it mean? It's fewer patrols. longer response times, longer investigation times. The detective might not get back to you when your wedding ring got stolen or somebody stole from a business. We may have to prioritize a higher level call because there may be some violence involved. There may be something that's going to make us have to take that over your call or your report. We have to prioritize. Prioritizing calls for service. There's 5 policemen. We're not going to send an officer to domestic by themselves. We're not going to send them to a mental health call by themselves or a fight. And it's just not going to happen. But a big township, 25 square miles, 2 things happen and a car crash happens, there you go, your police force is tied up. We're pretty good at handling that, but we're facing a lot of strain with our scheduling and staffing. We don't want to be in a position where we drop below minimum staffing. It wouldn't be good for us, it's not safe, it's not good for the community. It's been in place for 30 plus years. There's a reason for that. And Austintown has grown in the last 30 years. The police force back in 1995 was about 37, 38 officers. We're at 33, we're still making it work, but let's be realistic here. It's just not sustainable in the direction that we're going. It's not fair to say that Austintown has grown a lot in the last 30 years. Businesses have come, traffic has swelled, different types of crimes have occurred that they did not have handled back in the day. You may be wondering, how do we get here? Well, we passed the levy in 2018. And in 2019, we started to receive that new money. What does it come down to? The increased cost: healthcare, fuel, wages, equipment, and vehicles. Majority of these costs they're labor related, right? You need the policeman that's well trained, has the equipment, has the car, has the resources available to protect the community. Well, we've made our cuts. We are bleeding. We're down to 33. How much lower can we go without having to reduce services? That's how we got here. Inflation and these increased costs. We're trying to be realistic. And we understand that. But what is this Board of Trustees and what have we done now to try to continue us another year down the road, another year down the road? Stopgap measures. We haven't bought police cars, deferred vehicle replacements, reduced overtime, dispatch and police. Bare minimum training, bare minimum staffing, a hiring freeze over 2 years ago. Every department in the state of Ohio is hiring. They want candidates. We're not. Probably one of the few. General fund transfers have helped to keep this police department afloat. And I really want to touch back on the training. For us to be a well-trained, well-staffed department, and for us to get good candidates, if we're not offering the right training, nobody's going to want to come and work here. And I just have to be realistic, where they can go and get the better training and the better support at other neighboring departments. And that's another realistic thing we have to recognize. It's very important that we're trained. Crossroads, this is where we're at. With the cooperation of the trustees, chief of police, we put on this levy. Again, we're asking for your help and support so we can move forward. Think of it as a community insurance policy. You have a home here, you have family here, you have nice schools here. You're investing in your community. That's what this is. That's all it is. It's nothing personal. You get the services that you want to pay for, or we get the services that we can afford. And we're trying to balance that out to provide you the best services possible. Here's some basic information about our levy. November 4th, election day. The proposal is a 2.22 mil levy. It's reduced from 2.4 mils from the previous year. And it's renewable. It's going to generate about $2.1 million for the police department and 911 dispatch, which funds 9 Austintown dispatchers. What's different about this levy? It's renewable. Gives voters full oversight and a decision point at the end of each 5-year term. And the change is from a continuous, or we'll call it a forever levy, depending if you're in the property taxes or not. And we're asking to build trust with you through transparency, with the Board of Trustees, with the new Chief of Police. Our tax dollars are state audited. Monthly public reports. Their spending and revenue reports always discussed monthly. This money is separate. It goes strictly to the police fund. It doesn't go to the parks, it doesn't go to the roads, it doesn't go for this or that. It's strictly for 911 services and police operations. We have transparent meetings. Any transfer of money or advance of money are all approved at trustee meetings. If you do go to those meetings or watch those meetings, It's there, it has to be done. And at the end of those 5 years, you will decide if you want to invest in your police department. So you have the option. You're like, don't like the service, then you vote no. But if you're like, I like what I have, I like my community, I like the safety, I like the response times, we're asking for your vote. Speaking of property taxes, where do your property taxes go? So if you look to the left pie chart, the yellow section says Austintown Township. Approximately 27% of your property taxes, if you own a home in Austintown, go to your community. The rest go to the schools, Mahoning County, joint vocational schools, and other. So if you pay $2,000 a year in property tax, a little over $500 goes back to Austintown. What does that $500 get you? Get you fire, get you ambulance service, get you roads, parks, general fund, senior center, health, and your police. That's what that gets you. That 27%, 25% gets you all of those things out of your property tax bill. So I encourage everybody, please look at your property tax bill. Be informed, learn about taxes, understand where your money is going and what services you would like. So the decision's yours. I'm not going to sit up here and tell you it's just a cup of coffee. I'm not going to tell you just don't go out to eat. I'm not going to tell you to do those things. I'm not going to give you the $100,000 home valuation either. I did a $150,000 home. I felt like that was easier. It's 32 cents a day or under $10 a month. If your house is valued by the county auditor at $150,000, it's $10 a month additional. If you own a $300,000 home, it's under $20 a month. We're asking for your support, and we think it's worth the cost. It's an investment in your community. So we hope you protect the township, protect the community. We want to protect you. We want to give you the best service possible. I'd like for you to vote yes. Thank you, guys. If you have any questions, we'll open it up for that.
Well, David, thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. Rudy?
In terms of staffing, what is like Boardman and Campfield, do they have equal amounts? Are they smaller than 25 square miles and have equal staffing? Or?
It just depends on what the community needs. So all communities are different. They're different. Their ways of funding. If it's a Campfield city, 8,000 people, they may have 19 to 20 officers, depending. Boardman's probably the best comparable. They're a township of 40,000 residents. They have a lot more business, so their daytime population swells. They have about 60 officers. We have 33.
Canfield's 24 currently.
Canfield's 24. Niles, population of 19,000. They have them all. They have more business. They're running 36 officers. We're not telling you we want to get back up to 43. What we're telling you is that the number that we're running at now is not sustainable, especially with all the retirements, the lack of promotions, the lack of movement. It's just not a sustainable model. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You mentioned this, but just to confirm, 100% of the money from this levy goes to police and dispatch, is that correct?
That is correct.
Nothing goes to the general fund?
Correct, and we have our fiscal officer back here, Laura, am I correct in that?
You are correct. Yes, any levy that's passed for a specific purpose can only be used for that purpose. So when you voted for the senior center money can only be spent on the senior center. Park money can only be spent in the parks. General fund is the only one that can help other funds out.
But this levy is for police and dispatch?
Yes, ma'am.
Solely?
Yes, and it will state that on the ballot. It'll explain what it's for, the equipment, wages, salaries, 911 equipment. It should be explained exactly on the ballot, and as the fiscal officer said, as what we know, this is direct money, not to be used elsewhere, to be spent frivolously in other areas of the township. This is for safety operations.
Someone looked on the Board of Election and said the ballot says police/general fund.
I have a copy of it. Let me go get it for you.
Well, I just want to clarify if that's true or not, so yes. as long as
I believe I have a copy of it on me. I keep a stack of papers, so if you want 1 second, I'd be more than happy to answer that for you.
Sure, was that the Austintown ballot or was it a
It's
different township?
it's the sample ballot. Mark Dapolito provided it.
Okay.
Unless you have it, Chief.
And
Yeah, I didn't see it, someone told me that.
It may just say police general fund, like altogether? It is not a general fund levy.
That's a good question, though, and you want to be
I want to
transparent.
clear, that's why I can't clarify that.
Absolutely.
See if I have it.
That wording, if it says police general fund, just say police.
I don't have it physically, I have it in an email on my phone, so just give me 1 second. I think actually, didn't Mark send it to us, an email? Chief's gonna pull up on our email, let me see if
I
I.
got it right here.
Oh, here it is, I'll read it. Well, I won't read it all, but. No, I'll read it all. Proposed tax levy, additional, Austintown Township. It says, an additional tax for the benefit of Austintown Township for the purpose of providing and maintaining motor vehicles, communications, and other equipment, buildings, and sites for such buildings used directly in the operation of a police department for the payment of salaries of permanent or part-time police, communications, or administrative personnel to operate the same, including the payment of any employer contributions, and it goes into our revised code, and it explains that $78 per 100,000 evaluation. This is the sample ballot from the Mahoney County Board of Elections. So I don't know if there's the administrative personnel. We do have records clerks that do a really good job. People walk in all the time. The chief has a secretary, does payroll, does administrative tasks. So maybe that's the wording that's covering that. But it doesn't say anything specifically about the general fund on there.
Okay. And does communications cover dispatch? I mean, I missed anything that said dispatch.
Yes, it does. The communications fund doesn't have a designated revenue source. They're a different type of fund that it's funded by police and fire.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Part of the fire department's levy pays for part of that dispatch. And then the police levy pays for the majority of it.
Thank you.
Everybody see? Anything else?
I just want to know, how many officers do you would like, I mean, right now you're at 33, right?
Yes.
How many officers would you like to have on staff?
37 to 39 is our goal. So we're not asking to be the highest staff that we once were, but we're asking the middle of the road. A few more officers is going to go a long way in our department. So between 37 and 39 officers is the goal.
Dale?
Can you explain to the public your training that you guys have to go through? I'm a retired fireman, so I know the training that firefighters have to go. I don't think the general public realizes and understands the amount of training and classes that you guys have to take. I'm not sure, as far as police, what your minimum is through the state. I know for us as firefighters, we had a minimum of hours that we had to take every year. Now, I don't know, maybe you can explain that to the public so they can understand
I
that.
defer to you, Chief, if you have it there. I don't have all the designated CPT hours. I
So
don't know,
the
or maybe
CPT
Jeff or.
Lieutenant Turilla handles all of our continued professional training. That's through the state every year. It's 24.
Yeah, the state several years ago mandated that we have continuing professional training, and that's 24 hours a year.
So that's online training that's mandated by the state. Officers typically do it while working a shift if they have some free time. We have no option to decline. If not, we lose our certification. But when we're talking about additional training, we're not doing any additional training because we just can't.
The only other thing that the state mandates is our mandatory firearms qualifications. We qualify with our 2 handguns, rifle, and a shotgun. We also have mandatory defensive tactics training, CPR, AED, Narcan, riot. We'd like to do driving. Driving's not mandated, so we have to skip it this year, but our officers do drive for 8 hours a day. Having driver's training is necessary. Dispatchers have 2 certifications that they are required to keep up with, APCO and EMD. The EMD is what allows them to medical dispatch a call. So when 911 rings, they have to be able to tell you how to give CPR or how to provide care until the paramedics are able to arrive. And they have to keep up a certification for that. And that same thing, we haven't done anything extra, just what we're required to do to keep up certifications. And that obviously doesn't set us up to be in the best position, the way the laws are changing and the way that litigation is in today's society, we want to have well-trained and most updated material in the hands of our police officers and our dispatchers so that they are able to respond appropriately to provide the best service to you.
And to touch on what Chief just said, for example, evidence technicians. So in a major crime, our detectives would be called out to investigate like a shooting, a homicide, something like that. The day-to-day calls, we're not going to call a detective out because it's just not feasible from a financial standpoint or man-hour standpoint. So some of our officers are sent to evidence technician school. They are highly specialized, trained to observe different evidence at a scene that an officer that may not have taken that class would observe. They have a sharper eye for details. On top of that, they're able to collect evidence themselves, whether it's photograph, DNA, fingerprints. That's training that's got, we're not going to send anybody to evidence technician school. It's an example of something that's got.
One more thing, training is active shooter training. Extremely important. We have an officer at every school, every day of the week. So 5 officers on campus. Obviously, our children are the most important thing in the community. And heaven forbid, a tragic incident like that would happen at one of our schools. We want to make sure that our officers have the training to know what to do. There's a lot of moving parts that go into something of that kind of scenario, that kind of incident. So obviously, if we don't have the staffing and the resources available, we can't do that training. Half of our department is 5 years or less on this department, so if they don't have that, it's imperative that we're able to receive that kind of training. So,
And it's also important to note that it's not just a training you go through one time. Skills perish. You don't just do one thing and you think you're going to know it all. If you have to practice it, just like a sport or any function, this training is a lot of these trainings Chief Delmont's talking about, we do annually, and we're struggling to get some of this basic annual training accomplished. And it's making it difficult with the lack of staffing and scheduling issues. It really is.
And the other burden that's going to come in 2026, we're receiving some information that those mandatory 24 hours that the state's putting on us, they used to have that available on a website since they made it mandatory. From what we're understanding, starting in 2026, that's not going to be the case. So the departments are going to have to do their own training like what we used to do to cover those hours that the state was able to provide for us. So that's an additional thing that we're going to have to try to figure out how we're going to do that.
Any other questions?
Just got a quick question. So the state doesn't provide monies to departments for additional training like you just talked about for your staff? They don't provide outside of the residents?
I think they do reimburse, but maybe the chief could explain a
The
little further.
CPT hours, those continuing professional training hours, those are, there is some reimbursement for those. It's, depends on the hours that are put in, and the state has their own little calculation, but we do get reimbursed for some of that training. Sometimes it's not, the cost comes in changing those people's schedules and moving everything around, trying to get people off for those days of training, or trying to, if we're trying to do it in-house, if it's something that we can do, then we have to pay for one of the officers to go become an instructor in that class. So there are still costs associated with training that are not reimbursable, but we do have instructors on our department that we can utilize for some of that in-service training, and that's how we're able to do it in-house versus some agencies send every one of their officers out for that 24 hours of training, which we can never afford right now. But like Lieutenant Trillo was saying, in the future that we're going to be required to do in-person training or certain classes that are not online anymore. So there's going to be an expense there.
And to further mention that, the state was reimbursing us up to 40 hours for that CPT training. They've actually knocked it back starting next year to 32 because there's no revenue stream for the state anymore. So they're reducing that even more too.
And then to just add a little bit more, like I brought up the evidence technical school for officers. It's pretty expensive. There's no reimbursement for that. That would be up to the individual department.
Also $5,000 an officer.
departments, how specialized and how well trained they want their officers. The state's only going to require a certain amount and reimburse a smaller percentage of what it actually costs. Everything above that falls on the department and how good department they want to be. This is my third department I've worked for. I started in Struthers. I was there part-time for a few years, went to Campbell for 7. This is by far the most professionally ran department that I have worked for, and I will retire here. I have friends throughout the community that are in other departments. You know, I've been in law enforcement 21 years. I was really happy that I chose to come here because of how it was ran, and it's sad to see what it is today, because it's not the department that I came on to.
So the first year, the money starts coming in, we still go back to 2 canines?
I don't know if the levy would pass, when that money would come in. Lori, do you know how that
It would
works?
come in next year, it would start coming in next year.
And then our first obligation would be to probably, within our department, hire a couple officers and get a couple officers trained. And I'm not going to, we're gonna take everything slow and we're gonna spend responsibly, and that's one of the things that has been my goal since I took this position in March, is to not act too quickly, to think things through, to try to make sure that we're making good decisions, make sure that I'm being responsible with our budget, and make sure that we are prioritizing our needs and making sure that we are accountable for what we're doing. So yes, I would love to have a second canine back on our department, but that would not be a first priority probably. Staffing is gonna have to come first, because that's what, as a public servant, that's what you need, is the public servants, and we need officers. So that would come first, and then from there, equipment and canines would probably come in with the equipment and the training.
I want to touch a little bit on retention and recruitment. With all the great things that she talked about over the last few years, I think it's around 20 applicants in the last 28 months. It's not even one officer a month looking to come work at this police department. I think that's something realistic that we have to also consider, is that we have to be attractable to have the best candidate, not just a candidate. And like Sergeant Berg said, a well-trained department, a well-staffed department, and offering, the services that we provide, we have to look at, who's out there and who wants to come and apply. We don't make people apply, so we have to look at what we can do to get people to come back and fill those positions. So that's also another battle that we're facing, and police departments across the state and nationally are losing officers. There's shortages everywhere, but we're facing it in our little world as well. So I just wanted to make that point, is that we are, we want to get back to where we were.
Sergeant, you talked about losing 10 officers. Can you explain to me, or us please, where those 10 officers went, why we're short 10?
I know one of them went back to their home agency, Struthers. The other one went to Boardman Township for better opportunities and wage increase. And one of them went and took a job with the state of Ohio. And I know we've lost a lot of institutional knowledge. We've had some lieutenants retire and some senior officers. So like Sergeant has said, we have a younger department, and we have to pour into them and give them the training, give them the opportunity, because a day is going to come where they're going to be up here talking, and we're going to pass that baton to them. And we don't want to leave this police department in a position where they're not able to take it and run with it. The other officers are through retirement and attrition. We're not hiring anybody because they're trying to work within their budget.
And we've had 2 officers that left to go back to different agencies that pay more and have more stability.
We want to keep the officers we have. We want to keep the officers that are here, and we've poured a lot of time and training and money, and they know this community, some live in this community. I just think it would be a shame if they left to go work for somewhere else, and we couldn't give them the best opportunity possible.
Yeah, to follow up on the canine question, I know that money was raised to cover the 1 officer through the end of the year. If the levy passes, will additional monies be needed to cover that for next year, or would that be part of the levy?
If the levy passes, I wouldn't need any more donations. We would fund the K-9 program through the police department again.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Brad, is there anything you want to add about being Brad McCarthy, the K-9 officer with our department? Is there any important facts that we want to talk about having a K-9 in our community and what it does to deter crime or in crowd control or drug investigations?
Well, my dog's what we call a patrol narcotics investigation dog. So he's able to smell meth, heroin, crack cocaine, cocaine, as well as track for missing persons or people that flee from us. Article searches, so if someone's fleeing from us, they throw a gun or whatever the case, he's able to search for the gun, locate that. Just various tasks.
Thank you.
About it.
Yeah. It's a great tool.
And one of the main reasons to have a K-9 is just as a deterrent. When people know you have a K-9 or there might be a K-9 on the way, it just is what it is. People don't want to get chased by a dog. Good.
I have a question. Some of these new developments they put in, they get a tax exemption, whatever. Like this racetrack down here, how many calls do you have? Can you tell me how many calls you had on that down there per year?
Robert, we know that number because we were in Columbus fighting for that.
Don't know on top of my head, there was a significant amount of calls that were seen up. That's something that we, the board, is working on.
Fights or anything related to fighting?
We have thefts, we have intoxicated persons,
Oh,
drunk drivers,
Oh,
sometimes fights. Those are the type of nature calls that we're going to the casino for. People leaving intoxicated on the property, causing problems, things like that.
Are
Does that answer your question?
Accidents, lockouts.
Accidents.
A lot of medical.
Are they still under exemption from paying tax? I mean, on that building? I know you have to pay tax on their land, but...
Behind you.
Just let me respond to that. I'm the township zoning inspector.
Okay, yeah.
There's no tax abatement for the casino.
Oh, okay.
When it was under construction and open, they entered into a 10-year TIF with Mahoney County engineers, that's tax incremental finance. And basically what that says is whatever taxation was generated pre-development continues. And then the additional taxation based on post-development goes into the TIF for infrastructure. And that was managed by the county engineer's office and the county commissioners. And if you look at our county roads, in addition to the recent sales tax, but prior to that, the county paid a lot of county roads, and the TIF is what paid for that. That TIF is a 10-year TIF.
Okay.
If it's not expired, it soon will be. And once it expires, then that tax money just goes to where the same as our tax money.
Goes
Just
here.
goes. What the pie chart that the officer showed,
Oh,
that's what's going on.
Oh, okay.
So they got no tax abatements.
Oh, okay. So they're only taxing.
As far as the training goes, to keep with trends, what would you say is a specialized training that officers have not been able to get that you feel that they need to have?
So one of the biggest ones is probably legal updates. Every year, we usually do a legal update where officers learn about use of force, case law, deadly force, pursuits, all the high liability stuff, probable cause, arrest, search, and seizure, the things that we are most likely to get sued for. We like to send officers every year to a legal update so they have the latest case law, so they know what they can and can't do in an instant when they have to make that decision. That's probably the most important one that I would like to be able to send officers to. And there's a whole lot of other things, you know, but that's top of my list.
Any other questions? Bruce, anything?
Oh, think so. I mean, you guys talk about training, and I kind of resonate myself a little bit with my history, but firearms, I can't imagine some of these young guys, you know, getting hired in the department or here just a few years and shooting once a year at the state minimum. It blows my mind. I can't even imagine that. And with, as the Sergeant said, we've already had a couple of shootings here in town recently. These young guys shoot once a year, maybe they just, you know, that's scary to me. I'd like to see them shoot more often. But unfortunately, we're not doing that right now. That was one of the things we cut a while back. Well, I hope that some of you go on social media tonight and explain how well informed you are with the facts. I thank all of you for coming. And again, you know, most of you know me. Feel free to reach out, Chief as well. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.